Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Cotati City Council meeting and the successor agency to the former Cotati Community Redevelopment Agency for this December 12th, 2017. May I please have a roll call?
Councilmember Skillman?
Here.
Councilmember Dellison?
Here.
Mayor Harvey?
Here.
Vice Mayor Landman?
Here.
Councilmember Moore?
Moy. Here.
Thank you.
Moy.
Thank you. Would you all please join me in a pledge of allegiance? And we will be moving on to approval of minutes and notice of waiving of reading of all resolutions and ordinances introduced and or adopted under this agenda. And I have a speaker on that. Yes, Mr. Carricker.
Greg Carricker, representing Rancho Adobe Fire District. It's item 13 on the minutes, which we find to be incomplete and misleading. Misleading because they are incomplete. In discussing the Reverb Hotel, the only comments recorded were Greg Carricker of Cotati commented. That is not quite accurate. I have a correction here, which I will supply to the clerk, and I will read to you. Greg Carricker, Board President, Rancho Adobe Fire Protection District, informed the council that Rancho Adobe has just completed its 5-year plan. The plan projects severe financial shortfalls in coming years and has no provision for the purchase, staffing, or operation of a ladder truck to protect the proposed 3- to 4-story Reverb by Hard Rock Hotel. Greg Carricker then read a statement from Fire Chief Leonard Thompson. It states that if the city or the developer wish to purchase a ladder truck to protect this hotel, our doors are open for negotiation. Further, since I have the floor, I have a one-sentence statement from Chief Thompson. If Rancho Adobe is going to provide effective, efficient fire service to the community, then we need to be part of the process. Thank you, and I hope you'll put this in the corrected minutes because it's very important to the district.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
And second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We will move on to the announcements. The City of Cotati has special open office hours on Monday evenings from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. by appointment in the Community Development Department at City Hall as part of its Cotati Open for Business program. This program provides personalized assistance and information to developers, current Cotati business owners, and those interested in starting a new business within the city. The Roanoke Park Cotati Regional Library hosts events for all ages, including art exhibits, book clubs, and children's programs. All events are free and open to the public. For more information, call the library at 584-9121 or visit sonomalibrary.org. The Cotati Historical Society Museum is open regularly the second Tuesday of each month from 5 to 7 p.m., Saturdays from 1 to 4, and by appointment. For more information, call 707-794-0305. Citizens interested in receiving the City of Cotati community alerts via text message or email are encouraged to sign up at nixle.com. That is NIXLE.com. Join the Cotati Police for another Coffee with a Cop event on Wednesday, December 20th from 7 a.m. to 8:30 at your Sweet Expectations located at 8099 La Plaza. On Saturday, December 23rd, the California Homemakers Association annual holiday food drive will take place in the Ray Miller Community Center between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. Lastly, the city offers a variety of recreation programs for all ages. See the details on the web at cotaticity.org. Any other announcements that missed? Okay. Then we will move on to presentations. And with that, we have a review of the draft website and banner program. Damien, is this yours?
It is mine. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, as the council knows, there was a ad hoc committee formed, and DeLasso and Skillman are the members of that ad hoc committee. We talked about some of the structure of the proposed website, and I should say this is draft, this isn't live, right? This is a draft website. And the structure now has gotten to the point where what was a paper structure before, and we presented it before our council, but now it's a dynamic live structure. And some of the main elements, I'll just run through them real quick. And one of the things we're trying to achieve is that the existing website is fairly antiquated, not very mobile friendly, and we're trying to organize things in a more intuitive and easy to access way so that people can find things easier on our website. And the basic structure is this top part, which are called mega menus, right? So the categories are City Hall, so it's essentially like a virtual City Hall. Explore Cotati, so if you're a visitor, resident services, if you live in Cotati, the kind of things. So it's really kind of and there's overlapping, you'll find that there's overlapping links in some of these mega menus, but it depends, it's context specific, so it depends on who you are. So if you're a resident, there are certain things that you're most likely to be looking for, and so those are the things that will show up like in the resident services menu. If you're looking for rec programs or city facility, this is an example. So all the content on our existing website has been migrated into this website at this point, and we're going through the details to clean those up. And we're hoping if there's any feedback on certain things that the council or the public feel are more important to highlight, that we could make sure we do that as we finish moving information around. Business services would be for Cotati businesses or prospective businesses looking to either do business in Cotati or setting up shop here. And so a lot of these links are related to that. Like I said, Explore Cotati is if you're visiting. And like I said, all these links exist on our existing website. They were just moved into this new website in hopefully a more intuitive place. And then City Hall, it's grouped by City Council, commissions, committees, and boards, and then City Administration, which is the City Manager's office, and then the departments of the city, and then other things that people will be looking for, employment and municipal code. And some of this, by the way, is also driven by, they have something called Google Analytics, which you can run on a website to see where people go, where visitors to your webpage go. And so the things that are the most common things that we see people going to our current website for are things that we've made sure that we're trying to highlight here. It's primarily like, employment and paying bills and that sort of thing, and some of the headlines. So that's, and then over here is a quick way to get to some of the most common things that people want to do. Paying a water bill, getting a permit, dog license, renting a park or facility. And none of this stuff is static, by the way. Of course, we're continuing to build it through the month of December and into January. And even once it goes live, we can always, like any website, continue to add to it. And the view we're looking at right now is a desktop version of it. And so when you land on it, there's a background picture, which will refresh to a different picture of Cotati each time someone re-lands on the page, with a search bar in the middle. And then down here are just some quick links for things that are some of the more common things that people come here to our current website for. And so they're just tiles that are easier to use, especially with today's touch screen computers. And then below that is news. And so this is a scrolling group of 3. Again, they're tiles, right? And then you can look at them all if you want together, or you can scroll through them if there's more than 3. But only 3 are visible at one time. And then down below is upcoming events and a map of where Cotati is in the Bay Area. So upcoming events. Again, you can view them all, or you can just look at the, I think there's room for one more here. You could do 3 on this page. The three most current ones, and then you can look at them all if you wanted to. And then like traditional websites, you just have the contact information down below, as well as social media links. And then back up. And then if you want to look at the mobile version, this is what the mobile version looks like. So you have the hamburger menu, right? And you click on that, and these are the mega menus. So it's the same things you saw on the top of the page on the desktop view, but it's now in a sliding sidebar. And then these are all the same things that are in the full desktop version, but they're just accessed a little differently if you're on a phone or a tablet. And then, again, you still have the background picture and the search bar. These tiles, rather than being oriented horizontally under the picture, reorient to be vertical, right? And again, they're like large tiles, so you can, if you're on your touchscreen iPad or phone, you can touch them easily without having to try to peck at a URL, which can be challenging. And then so it's all the same information, right? So you scroll down, the headlines are there, and then upcoming events are below that. And then, as an example, say you go to the department page. Oh, and of course it logs me out. The hazard of letting it sit here for too long. So bear with me 1 second. Okay, so this is a department page, and it's a similar format to the home page with the tiles, the kind of things that people would normally go. If you're the kind of things that people would typically go to for the city manager's page, the administration, city administration, things like MOUs and salary schedule, and recreation, which is in the city manager's department. And then this is all the same narrative that was, just migrated from our existing website that describes the department, and contact information there, and staff in the department, as well as some tiles that we can populate with things, whatever it is we want to do. And then there's the one thing that's a little different is there's a sidebar here with some other commonly accessed information, like election information and campaign finance type stuff. And then all the ADA type accessibility things here to change text sizes, export it, print it, whatever you want to do. So, so each one of these pages, there's a whole stock of rotating pictures. You can see this is Fleddy Ranch, but there's a bunch of different pictures in each page. So as you browse through, you kind of get a sense for the community, some of the. And so that's the web page, and then I was going to switch to the banners because they tie in. But if there's any comments at this point, I'd be happy to talk about them.
Sure. I think just one thing I'd like to say is, Councilmember Skillman and I were on the subcommittee. The one thing that I noticed when we were previewing the last round, which I think was last week, that there was a number of different cities' websites were looked at, sort of taking the best from everybody that we thought seemed to work. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's a much cleaner, way to navigate through, which is what I really appreciated when I finally saw this version. And I don't know if this is a word, but to me, it's more navigable. Is that a word? Mm-hmm. I think it is.
It
sounds
is,
like
yeah.
It's a word tonight anyway. So, that's what I really appreciate about this redesign. And again, it's not a done deal. The banners that we're going to talk about next are not a done deal. So, I think some more public feedback that we get on it too would be really good, and we can make changes down the road. But it looks good so far.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, so just to tie in real quick, so a lot of the imagery that's in the website follows through with the banners, and this is just some examples, but it gives you the sense of the format. The thought is that these black background banners would be near the like pedestrian plazas as you come into downtown, and then these would be on the decorative poles that have banner arms. So there's a common theme to them where they have the stripe and the hexagon, the heart in it, and then photos with it's an effect that's overlaid on it. And these are just some examples of some images that that at least. So the person, and I think a lot of you know Katie. So she was the one taking the lead on this project, and she lives here in Cotati, and so these are some of the things that that jump to the front of her mind as to things that are instantly recognizable. The turkey is debatable, I guess, but the other ones are instantly recognizable as Cotati, and there's also some other images as an example that we were looking at, because this is not all inclusive. There'd be a total of up and down Old Redwood Highway right now, there'd be a total of like 30 banners, so 15 each side. There's also some other kind of things that we could do, like incorporate some of these elements from the sound walls or from the retaining walls. Of course, there's Chief Cotati and La Plaza Park, and also this painting. So anyway, just in terms of the musical history of Cotati, those are some musical elements and also some of the Indian elements that are also options. But I'm certainly, aside from just general feedback on the design of it, I'm also interested in if there's any other thoughts on images that might be good for these type of banners. And the one criteria really is that it has to be of a thing, and it has to be fairly close up. Otherwise, it just gets lost, especially as you're driving by. It has to be something you could recognize pretty quickly. For example, we have a lot of events here in Cotati, but taking a picture of like a crowd is not a good thing to put on a banner, because nobody would be able to know what that is. So that's where things are at the moment, and I'd be happy to take any questions or comments.
Did you want direction from us now, or did you want to wait till after?
If you have comments now, we can make them now. If you want to wait, you can wait, whichever you're. Do you want to wait? Okay. You won't?
I won't wait.
Okay,
No,
he's not
I'll
waiting.
throw some more comments out. And this is kind of opening it up to everybody, too. I mean, I think we need to think of portrait images. The landscape, like you said, a crowd of people, clearly not going to work. So, I'd encourage people just to think of, like I thought of a couple things which I sent Katie a note a few weeks ago, like, anything that, a redwood tree. We have redwoods, Old Redwood Highway. I know there's no more redwood trees on Old Redwood Highway, but, those types of things, tall towers, thinking of some buildings on the west side of the freeway, that would be good. But I think that's kind of, throwing that out to everybody, and let your friends who live in Kentucky think of an image that is a portrait image already, because you can't, with banners like that, you can't really convert. And more often than not, I see a lot of cities that do those, and they're I like them a lot, but they're doing artwork that's made for that kind of orientation. So to go out and look for photographs is challenging, to say the least.
I should also add, too, real quick, that I forgot to mention this earlier, but the idea with the banners is that this would be sort of kind of a base banner program, right? So there'd be seasonal banners and other event-related banners, but these would be the ones that would be kind of on there between those seasonal or event banners.
If it comes down to voting, I would be a no vote for turkeys, but we can talk about that later. That's fine.
And I would imagine that people could submit different pictures in portrait style that we could take a look at adding to the repertoire of banners that we had as time goes on.
Absolutely, yeah.
The one that I see missing in your examples is outside City Hall there. That I would think you could get into a portrait frame. Any other comments before I open it up? No? Okay. I will open this up for comment. Yes, Lori? Lori, are you voting for the turkeys?
No.
No, I thought you wanted the peacock, right?
I want,
No turkeys, you wanted the peacock, right?
right,
Okay.
and I'm basically reading my thing, and I don't think this would have been open to public input unless I had wrote. There's a lot of beauty in this town, and you need to ask the citizens. Anyway, in the meeting packet is the banners proposed for downtown. Here's my critique of them, and yes, it is my personal opinion. Slogan, welcome home Cotati. Did we go somewhere? The banners aren't for the citizens, but to encourage tourism. It should be something like welcome visitors or something more creative. Background, black. Are we in mourning? Chief Cotati would not be happy. Tan is the color associated with Cotati. Pictures. In the beginning, I guess drivers are supposed to lean their head 90 degrees to read that one. Athena looks like the Jolly Green Giant in this picture. Sheep, chickens, and wild turkeys, definitely pushing that demonstration farm concept. Cotati has never been known for its uniqueness of having sheep, chickens, and wild turkeys. That's not what made Cotati unique. This would have been a fun public input project. You all could have had a contest for a gift certificate or something. There is abundance of natural beauty in Cotati if you look. The city place statues are not what made Cotati unique. And yes, Tom the peacock outside my house is rather upset that you choose that ugly wild turkey over him. All wild turkeys do in our neighborhood is cause power outage by flying up into the power lines. Ask former Fire Chief Ray Triner. He didn't believe turkeys could fly that high. His resource was that sketch on WKRP in Cincinnati. He learned from my neighbors and me that turkeys do fly. He also consulted experts that drink wild turkey for verification. So I don't think turkeys should be our, and they're also an invasive species. Just my opinion, but these banners need some work.
George?
Council, this base banner program was never vetted before the public. There was never any input, no cost associated with it. With all the talent we have in Cotati, there's been no public workshop. You have no public workshop planned for the future. You want to take this into your own hands with your infinite wisdom and come up with a marketing plan without any marketing experience, without any marketing consultants. We've had city council meetings that go no longer than 40, 45 minutes the last few months. You guys are usually home by 8:30, 9 o'clock. We've had plenty of time to involve the public in this. I don't understand how this happens, why we don't have these workshops when we've had other workshops in the past. And regarding the website update, the website, the last existing website we had at some $40,000 cost worked fine. There was all kinds of accolades and praise for that website. The website before that one at about $25,000. That one worked fine. It always works fine when you're spending money, and I don't get it. There was no input from the public on your subcommittee. We have no consultants here who have taken all this money and given a report tonight. Damien did an okay job, but I would have liked to hear it from the web designers, a little bit more comprehensive report on what the purpose of the website and the changes are. They're not here tonight, and I think we've been working on this for over a year, and this is what we have so far. The website update has been incredibly expensive, incredibly, and there's going to be maintenance costs by the month. When there's not a dime of money for the homeless. I mean, this is incredible. It's simply incredible. We're here in December. It's getting freezing outside at night. There's people sleeping under the trees and in the creeks, and you're spending money on this and not a dime for the homeless. No invitation to the fire victims to come to, hey, there's a banner for you. Hey, welcome fire victims. Every other city has except Cotati.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, Brandon.
Good evening, Council. I think the website looks good. I have a suggestion. I don't know if it's legal. I don't know if you're allowed to sell ad space on there. That would help pay for some of the expense that it takes to build and operate one of these systems, as well as the banners. I think it's a really good idea. Maybe you guys can put out some sort of photo contest to the schools, maybe a high school program or whatever, so that it can be voted on, so it'll be a mutually accepted picture that would come from within the community. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Seeing none, I will close public comment and bring it back. Yes, John.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think a photo contest is a great idea. That's what I was talking about. I asked for public input based on a draft. That's exactly what I did about 7 minutes ago. So to say that we're not asking for any public input, I guess, I don't know if my microphone was off or something, but I did just say that a few minutes ago. Banners are implicitly portrait in their orientation. So I think, like I said earlier, I think the photographs make it a little more challenging, because now you have to try to think of, I think we have some wonderful landscapes with hillsides around here, but again, that's landscape, that's not portrait. But you could get creative, and I'm sure there's a lot of people. I have a lot of photographs that, even in a festival, I think there's some use, of a jazz festival, somebody playing guitar up on stage, whatever the case is. So yeah, I think we have to get those creative juices flowing. Photo contests, whenever we have our honorary mayors, we'll throw that out at the next one, say bring this back to whatever school they're from, and start passing that idea around, and then we can talk to the administration and see what we can get. So I think there's endless possibilities, and the colors, the black background, I go back and forth. White background with black text is the most accessible for anybody to read, although a white background with black text does work. You just need 70% contrast, which we have in either direction there. I don't think the 3 banners that were up, one that said welcome, one that said home, one that said Cotati, I don't think those were meant to be sort of the Burma shave. I think they were individual messages, is how I understood it too. However, I assume design review probably for buildings in the downtown area has some kind of a color palette to choose from. So that might be something to consider as well, because then you're kind of matching some of the existing buildings, and that could just blend in nicely, just as a thought. So I think this is a great move in the right direction. But again, it's a draft, and we want some more comments and want some people's photographs. So I think it'd be great.
I will also add too, by the way, that that with the general plan, we had a photo contest, and so we mined those photos in this process. And part of the thought was too that, we work a lot with Thomas Page School we get artwork all the time from the students there. And at some point, we could incorporate potentially a banner program with them too, with student artwork.
Well, maybe even with that idea, if I may, sorry to jump in there, leading up to Kids Day, it'd be kind of fun to have children's artwork leading up to that. But sorry, just to piggyback on that since it was out there. Thanks. Yes, Vice Mayor.
All right, well, first of all, start with the good stuff. Really like the update, at least I recognize it isn't done, but to the website. particularly like a few things, like moving the Google Analytics stuff to the top. That makes sense. It's a lot easier for people. I've had on occasion had the opportunity to have to look through other counties and other cities' websites for things, as well as our own, frankly, a few times. And it's frustrating as a user and a constituent when you have to menu dive all over the place and you can't find it. So this is a big improvement. And I really like the refreshing pictures. I heard a couple of oohs and ahs, very gentle ones from the audience. I think that's a good concept, and what I saw of pictures I really liked a lot. So I think that's a good thing. Particularly, this is changing not so much because it's time for a new website. I think the old one got by, but it's mobile now. Most people, not my age group perhaps, but most of you out there, you're not accessing this most of the time from a big old home computer like I still do. You're using your phones, and it has to work that way, and I get that. So this is, for me, will be a little awkward, frankly, from my nice big screen computer that I'm used to working from and can almost see without these still. But I think that's good. I do have some concerns specifically with the banner program. I'll go through them. I'll start by just saying in general I like the concept and I'm supportive of that. But these particular designs I see have a lot of problems with. I don't think they really work. First of all, the images, like the images, I agree. I was going to call for peacocks and you beat me to it because that is really a thing on our side of the freeway. There's a lot of them and it makes a nice picture. It's
The
very
turkeys
colorful.
are over on this side.
And not only that, it'll make those turkeys feel a little bad when they see how good the peacocks look. We could have that nice tower over at the Cotati train station. It's somewhat interesting looking. People like that. And if we're going to do a redwood tree, we have a very special redwood tree over there. We might as well use that one. So, but the banners, the Photoshop filter treatments of the images, that is very, very dated to my mind. That's just a 20-year-old type thing, and it's just not very attractive. Get a good picture and let it speak for itself with some nice colors, I think. Similarly with the design, and with these nice pictures, the red banner, the hexagon becoming black with a big white outline around it, somehow it just doesn't really seem to work to my eye against those images. It's very clunky. Same thing with the heart. It was used rather well in some of the larger badges as a simple red heart. Everybody knows what that is. But when you turn it into kind of like a cartoon of 3D by putting a little highlight on it there, that really doesn't work with the photorealistic picture behind it. So I point all these things out not to get too specific, but I just think really this whole design isn't working as yet. Same thing with the heavy black banners. I agree with those. I mean, black's real striking as a design element and it gives good visibility. But for the banners in the downtown to look like that with those tight faces and then trying to work that hexagon thing in there, as busy as it's become, I don't know. My perspective, I don't see it working, which is why I'd like to suggest this is a perfect start. I think this should be taken to a firm, a design firm, a professional design firm that specializes in municipal identity campaigns. I remember a couple of years ago we went to a mayors and council members dinner, and I think it was up in Healdsburg where Petaluma presented, and they had some beautiful work done. And since most of the work's done here, this probably wouldn't be too much just to somebody kind of fine-tune that design and get something that works. So that's my thought, and I think I've covered all of it, but I'm supportive of the concept. I think it'll be good, but I definitely think the banners need a lot more work. If you brought those to me as they are now and asked for an up or down vote, I'd be voting no, I think.
John?
Damien, can you flip back to or can you open up the mega menu on there? So the mega menu is on the page one, the first page?
It's on the home page, yeah.
And didn't it drop down to a third of the page there or something like that?
If, in this view or in the mobile?
No, in the previous.
We have this other view. Is this what you're thinking of? The mobile version of it?
No, on the desktop site. Yeah. So each one of those categories has its own mega menu per se.
Along the top, yeah, City Hall, Explore Cotati, Residence, and Business Services.
So when you go to, where's the main page?
Is it?
Okay, yeah. So then, and then just as you click one of those particular categories, it will open up that mega menu per se.
Yeah, as you hover over it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looking at existing software that I use, and it's got multiple mega menus, and sometimes it's difficult to know which one you're on. Just a word of caution on that one, but that looks pretty clear in that regard.
Okay.
I think it's great. I think it is much more intuitive. When you go to our existing site, it's not the most user-friendly, and this should make it much easier to seek what we need, and especially for the public to get information that they need. So I think that's good. That's encouraging on that website. On the banner program, I didn't know that we were looking to have banners up all year in between special events or particular holidays or anything.
Yeah, I mean, the light poles all have banner arms, and the goal eventually was to get something on there, just a base program that you could keep on there between seasonal banners. Yeah.
It's not too busy for that little strip? Multiple banners? 30 banners in 2 blocks?
Well, I don't know what the length is, if it's more than that. But
It's fairly far. I mean, you can see right now, there's banners up there today, the seasonal banners.
The holiday one.
Holiday banners, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that gives you the sense of what the busyness of it would be in terms of number of banners.
Okay. And then if we do determine that we're going to go with that year-round banners, I think it would be a good idea to open that process for maybe a photo contest or even incorporating, artwork from the schools or, Sonoma State, et cetera, Rancho Cotati.
I think one of the challenges we were confronted when we were doing it was if we do pictures, it's hard to mix pictures and artwork in the same strip of banners because it's just a different look,
Right.
So we would have to make a decision as to whether we're going to do photos or we're just not going to do photos and we're going to do art. And the compromise was, well, this will be our, at least in our minds, the compromise was this base program will be photos, and then we'll also rotate in, like we'll have a Thomas page, like we do here, we have on the City Hall walls. Take those, the best of, and get those, the winners of the art program, get those scanned in, and then put those up, at different time, perhaps around Kids Day or, some other time like that.
It's either that or you could go with all the former mayors.
I don't think we want to scare people away.
Right.
Thanks, but no thanks.
vandalized.
Thank you.
I like the concept of getting the schools involved, and maybe we should reach out to either Sonoma State and or the high school to see if they don't have a photography club, because a lot of the schools I know at the higher levels have that. And I think if you give them the boundaries around the fact that we need them portrait rather than landscape and kind of what we're looking for, I think that would, kind of help with that. I think that'd be a good idea. I visually, on paper, get the black and white. I'm just not sure how that's going to look up in a banner size going down the street. It does seem like it might be a little bit too much, but we do have to have something that will show. You also don't want people, trying to figure out, well, what did that say? So we definitely need that contrast of that. And I think that the example of the end of the beginning one is a good reason why you need something that's portrait, not landscape. If you put that landscape, you might get that eye, and you'd wonder what that was. But that's a good example of you don't want to take a landscape picture and turn it around. That doesn't seem to work very well. But and I really like the website. I use my iPhone a lot, so I have a hard time scrolling around. And then I usually will get exactly where I want to be, and it'll kick me out. So, I'll get like so far down. So I'm really happy that we're moving into allowing it on other devices, because I oftentimes am not sitting at a computer at home. So do you need anything else?
Not right now, no.
Okay,
That was
all
it.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you for everybody that put work into this. I think that About when do we think that we'll see the website come forward?
So we're just working through we're building some additional features in through the month of December.
Okay.
And I expect at some point in January, it's going to be ready to be turned on.
Okay. Okay. And there was a comment brought up about ad space. Is that something that is not allowed, not allowed?
I do not believe, and I'll look to Rob
Okay.
here, but I do not believe that you can sell ad space
Okay.
on banners or on websites, city
Okay.
websites.
Just, yeah, it could be problematic, yeah. Just wanted to throw that out there, but,
Okay.
thank you. So with that, we will move to the approval of the final agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Mayor.
No changes? Then we will move on to citizens' business and public comment for the consent calendar. Any member of the public wishing to speak to the council on any items listed on the consent calendar or any matter not listed on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the council is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda during this period. Pursuant to City Council Policy 2017-02, comments of any member of the public are normally restricted to a total of 3 minutes in length per person for matters not on the agenda and a total of 3 minutes per person in length for any and all items on the consent calendar. The mayor may extend the time limit for a reasonable time where there is a disability accommodation that has been requested. With that, let's see, what are all these? Okay. I do not have any items for citizen business. Anyone? Yes? Okay. I don't know who was first. Lori, you want to go and then Greg? Sorry. Ladies first.
I want to break up mine from citizens' business and consent calendar later after the break. This issue of public input and actually respecting public input is really big. You just really, at the beginning, you disparaged Greg Carricker by not adding in his comment and the comment from the fire chief about the hotel. You just went, oh, first and second, and didn't even amend it. That's your MO. You just, and I'm really tired of it, and I'm tired of not anything mattering that we say. And you can have a room full of objections and you still do it. And it's tiresome. The whole hotel thing it's not a beginning of a conversation. It was a contract, a 100-page contract. And you didn't answer any questions. You disrespected everyone on that. And when I go looking in, I find out you've been in the contract. There was a mistake, and there was a Gotati Urban Resort LLC started in 2014 to develop a hotel there that mentions the 30 parking spaces. You guys have been building the downtown improvement plan since 2014. That's a big no-no. You don't build right there for the hotel. You've never told us who's doing the sewer. It's in the Press Democrat, they said that the developer thinks he'll be done 18 months before the city does, because everybody knows it's a done deal. This guy is shady. He has a reputation in Mexico for scamming timeshares. Nobody did their research. And then you completely ignore me or anybody else in the room. I'm just tired of the disrespect. I'm a good researcher. I find things wrong, and I'm tired of it not mattering. what I say or what I do. You're going to do a unanimous or disrespect everybody, and I'm just tired of it.
Lori, did you want to speak on the consent? Oh, you want, okay, all right. George, I'm sorry. Greg was next, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Greg Carricker, once again, representing Rancho Adobe Fire District. 30 minutes ago, I made a very reasonable respect on behalf of the district to have the concerns we have about the hotel acknowledged openly and publicly by amending the minutes in your last meeting. Right away, this request was brushed off and summarily denied. This lack of transparency and cooperation is just a disservice to the fire district and to the community at large. So I really want to see a change in this behavior. So once again, I'm going to repeat our request. The fire district would like the city to reevaluate its position and the way it has a relationship with the fire district and start a new era of cooperation. As part of that, I mentioned last week, 2 weeks ago, that we have a new 5-year plan. It's been updated as recently as today, and it shows that we are even in greater financial difficulty than we forecast 2 weeks ago. You have an agenda, you're setting an agenda. I would like you to invite the fire district to come and make a presentation of our 5-year plan so that the council, the staff, and the entire community can see the challenges we face, and hopefully we have to face them together, not just alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, George, sorry.
Yeah, I'm pretty upset about how Mr. Carricker was treated. It was, this is getting to be more like amateur hour as time goes on. My name is George Barrich. I'm a former city councilman here. I am a victim of the politically correct lynch mob before us here. They don't know anything about politics, don't know anything about making deals, don't know anything about professionalism, honoring the code of conduct, honoring the law, honoring the Brown Act. Lori, have I forgotten anything? It's just amazing. And at the last city council meeting, I got up here and spoke, and council member Wendy Skillman, I don't know what she was thinking, was making all kinds of funny faces at me, all kinds of facial distortions and so forth to try to take me off my comment. Obviously, I don't think the council saw it, or she would have been reprimanded. I don't know if staff saw it, or they had the courage to say anything about it, but it was totally unprofessional. It was disgusting. It was amateurish. It was juvenile. And is that the type of conduct that is above reproach that your code of conduct speaks to? I mean, nothing surprises me here anymore, but when Wendy Skillman uses these facial distortions to try to throw me off, it's the lowest of the low. So, let's go tit for tat. Let me give you my Wendy Skillman impersonation. Well, we've been talking for about an hour here on the council. Councilwoman Skillman, do you have anything to add? No. Oh, just one thing. I just want to say I agree with the council on everything that was said here tonight. And I don't want to take up too much time. And I think staff did a good job. And that's all I have. Okay, are we even? Anyway, this type of unprofessional, juvenile conduct has to stop. All right? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. City Manager, would you, I know we haven't talked about it in a long time, but the type of minutes that we have, since we implemented the video, the minutes are really recording who spoke, and that's
Correct.
it. And those minutes have been going on this way for
it's
quite
been-
some time.
It's
since
been,
we-
it's been years. Yeah, they're called action minutes. It's a-
That was the term I was looking for. I knew there was a term for them. So those are the type of minutes that we have been using for quite some time. We do not record the depth of everyone's comments. If people want that type of detail, that's why we have the videos out there, so that they can actually hear and see the comments made by individuals.
I will also add too, though, that the, written comments are also attached to the agenda.
Yeah. I think it also tends to allow the full gist of what's being said. Oftentimes, I've seen minutes in previous years where just little snippets and you don't get the whole thing that someone said, or you get some things out of context, little bits and pieces. So I think it's a better representation when you can actually hear or see word for word what the person had to say in their complete comments. But that's the kind of minutes that we've had for quite some time now. So with that, we will move on to the consent calendar, but Lori, did you want to comment on that? Okay.
Okay, first is A, the Measure G annual report. I don't know if you know, but after the Wednesday after last one, the Measure G Oversight Committee met. There was no citizens in the audience, and I want you to really think about why there was no citizens in the audience. And it was over in 40 minutes. This is because none of us want to come up against it, because it's a bunch of made-up figures. You take the general fund, and then you don't even take a percentage. You just throw into the report what you want. That's not truthful, and that's not, and it's a review committee. This is supposed to be an oversight committee. We're supposed to have some say in what's going on. I tried at other meetings, Measure G's, but it doesn't matter. Whatever I say doesn't matter. We all know that. And you guys 2 weeks ago said you could not live without Measure G. You said we'd be in financial crisis. What makes Cotati so much different than every other California city that you have to have an extra 1%? Why cannot you live on property taxes and the regular sales tax? We should not have to go into financial crisis like you said last time because Measure G is ending. That is completely not what you advertised in 2014. Okay, and then my other ones. Why are you spending money on a park master plan, something like $50,000, instead of paying for and putting it into the parks instead of paying for a report? Lastly, the endorsement of the application for the community development block. Again, you're choosing Richardson Lane, which is the end of the road. There's a dangerous curve. You can't even get to Richardson Lane without fixing that. And also, and I explained this 2 years ago, right at West School and Clifford, 2 doors down is a woman severely disabled in a wheelchair who needs a sidewalk. They're right there, and you're spending the money on the cheap part, the most easy to do instead of where it's needed. So please consider where you're putting the walkway and what's the priorities. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on the consent calendar? Seeing none, I will close public comment on that. Did you have
I have a comment, Mayor, if I could.
Okay.
It was brought up by Mr. Carricker about having a presentation from the fire districts regarding their 5-year plan. And I think, yes, no. Directions on future agenda items. I'm ahead of myself. Hold that thought.
Okay, all right. Any other comment on that? Okay. Let's see. Yeah, the sales tax, property tax, a lot of the cities, if you really look at what they get, it isn't just property tax, and we get such a small proportion of property tax. If you look at that, you really have to dig a little bit deeper than just picking out one item on that. There's utilities, taxes, and lots of other taxes. So it's a piece of the pie, it's a portion. So anyways, the master plan, there is a priority, is my understanding on that. We've already done a priority on that. Some sections I know are more difficult than others because of the ruralness of the area, correct?
Yeah, so the focus up until now has been fixing things that were already in place, you know? And now we're starting the public, so the master plan, the whole point of it is to start a public process, a public dialogue about what the community wants. And if I heard people correctly in the audience, that's what they want, is public dialogue. So that's the point of a master plan, is to get public dialogue instead of just doing stuff, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, consent calendar,
I'll move to approve items A through D.
And I'll happily second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll let that show a 5-0 vote. Now, would you like to comment on any direction on future agenda items?
Well, I might have an item. Well, thank you for asking, yes. As a matter of fact, Mr. Carricker had mentioned the presentation from the fire district on a 5-year plan, and I think if we could get that on a council agenda in the incredibly near future. I know it's our only meeting this month, but, you know, if we could get that, I would, and I'm sure the audience would be very interested in hearing. It sounds like there's a lot of financial woes, so it'd be nice to hear that.
Okay. Any other future agenda items? Okay. With that, you have.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not exactly a future agenda item, but a comment that I thought, or an announcement, an update. I think most of the people here obviously follow local government. You probably follow state and national government, and you're spending a good chunk of your evening here instead of staying tuned to your devices or your home or anything. So I just wanted to share news from Alabama. The Senate race is complete, and Mr. Jones evidently has won. So for those of you who didn't have a chance to watch Update on TV, I thought I'd perform that public service for you and just pass that along. And thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to take just a second from the meeting to share that.
Okay. With that, I believe we are moving on to, my numbers have me correctly, 11A, the adoption of an interim urgency ordinance temporarily prohibiting commercial cannabis. And do we have a presentation on that?
Yes, thank you,
Staff
Mayor.
report?
Members of the council, I have
Okay.
it's a short presentation. So as everybody in the room knows, Proposition 64 was approved by the voters in November of 2016, which legalized the recreational or adult use, non-medical use of cannabis in California for people 21 years of age and older. And the state, as part of that ballot initiative, the state is required to start licensing commercial cannabis operations January, I guess, 2nd of 2018, January 1, essentially. And so come hell or high water, they're licensing commercial operations as of that date. And at the last meeting, the council did extend the cultivation urgency ordinances for another year, but with the understanding that it was really just for a couple months until we get the permanent regulations in place to hold things in the status quo on the cultivation side. And this urgency ordinance before you tonight relates to the commercial uses of cannabis. And as you all know, the city currently, under its existing regulations, allows an existing cannabis medical dispensary, it's Mercy Wellness. And come January 1, like I mentioned earlier, adult use will be legal in the state. And so the city needs to do a couple things. One is take a position on commercial uses in general. When the state comes asking for what's permissible and what's not, for these temporary licenses, the state's going to be issuing these temporary licenses in January, because they're also trying to get their final regulations in place and get in a position to issue the permanent licenses, which will probably be halfway through the year in 2018. So these temporary licenses, anyway, they're going to be issuing them, and for any jurisdiction in the state, they're going to need to know what the city's position is on commercial uses in general. And what this interim ordinance does is it essentially freezes all the commercial uses while we get the final regulations in place, January, February of next year, but carves out the existing uses that Mercy does today, right? So they continue to be legal, operate legally, under the state licensing regime, and it also allows adult use in this adult use retail in the existing sales floor for this interim period of time until the permanent licensing, until our regulations go into effect and the state's permanent licensing gets instituted. So we feel it's a necessary interim measure to allow this business to continue operating legally and to operate within the market that'll be here in January, February. And with that, I guess I'll leave it at that. It pretty much covers it, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Questions?
No question right now.
John, Wendy? No? Okay. We'll open this up for public comment. I do have some speaker cards. Is there anybody without speaker cards that wants to speak? Yes. Would you like to come forward? Did you put a speaker card in or no? Then please come forward. Sure. You can start us off. How's that?
Sometimes I come to these meetings and I feel like a guy in a diner. But I just want to thank you for your service. And I'm the property owner for Mercy Wellness, where they're located. Craig Inyart is my name. And I just think it makes sense to have the operation continue until everything can get finalized and situated. So that's my 2 cents, and appreciate all your help. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Okay. Then Felicia?
Good evening, Council. Thank you for your time this evening. My name is Felicia Acamazo. I am a medical cannabis patient. I'm also a project manager and ambassador for Mercy Wellness. As a brain cancer survivor who solely relies on medical cannabis, I urge you to please pass the urgency ordinance before you tonight. This urgency ordinance allows patients to continue accessing the local medicine that they have over the last 7 years in Cotati. It also allows Mercy Wellness to enter into the adult use market, ensuring that we are not left behind and that we are not stuck in some legal, non-conforming limbo from the new state regulations. This urgency ordinance ensures patients like me will have continued access during this transitionary regulatory period, and that is so important to so many people. I also ask you to please continue the permanent ordinance efforts, which you're so graciously doing a wonderful job, to allow for other permanent license types over the next few months. Thank you again, Council, for your time. Good evening.
Thank you for that. Serena?
Hey, thank you for your time. I urge you to pass the urgency ordinance before you tonight. Mercy Wellness can provide access to safe cannabis to the adult market. They know the products, have knowledgeable, friendly staff, And as we enter this new era, I think it makes sense to have Mercy Wellness, where it's a locally owned business that knows how to safely procure, test, and educate new adult users. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Amber?
Good evening, Council. I'm Amber Rasucci. Thank you so much for your time. Mercy Wellness is a model dispensary, not only as a business, but as individuals. I've witnessed them giving too many important causes in my time working with them. Daily Acts, a campaign to end Roundup use in public arenas, and the Palms Inn Homeless Rehabilitation Center, to name a few. Passing this ordinance tonight ensures that they can continue to operate as they have been for the last 7 years. The state just changed the rules again in September, and the urgency ordinance aligns the local rules with new state rules, allowing adult use access in the beginning of the year. Please continue the permanent ordinance efforts for other licensing types over the next few months. I just would like to thank you too for your time and all the efforts that you're putting in on these behalves.
Thank you for your comments. Tyler?
Good evening, City Council. My name is Tyler Hemphill. I am a resident of Cotati and someone who supports medical cannabis. I think this is a great decision for the council to move forward and approve the urgency ordinance. This industry moves extremely quickly, and to wait really can offset a lot of things that we can see in the future, especially a lot of opportunities. So with all that, I think this is a great decision, and I hope you approve of the urgency ordinance tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Brandon?
Good evening, Council, once again. I'm Brandon Levine, Executive Director of Mercy Wellness. I obviously urge you to move forward with this emergency ordinance. It's imperative to do this so that we can comply with the state and where we can fall in line with the state and the city moving forward, operating as we are. Mercy's served as our own distributor for the past 7 years. If we take this away, this will pretty much restrict our business to taking in product from other sources which don't exist right now. There's almost no licensed operators that are operating either distribution centers or manufacturing facilities. So we've been pretty active in reaching out to the community and trying to collect those cultivators and manufacturers, distribution centers, but we still need this distribution piece just to get through this next 6 months until they have the permanent license types given out. And we also are definitely asking for adult use. It's a natural transition, something that's happening in every city and county, maybe not as fast as this, but every city and county that we're working with are either talking about it or they are working on an emergency ordinance to do so. So with that, thank you for you guys' time. Thank you.
Thank you. George?
I can't see how the City Council could not vote for this emergency ordinance. As a property owner and as a taxpayer, let me say that the city is now in the marijuana business. You have imposed, with the help of the electorate, put together a campaign to impose special taxes per square foot, special licenses. You've shaken down this dispensary each year for about $30,000 each year to operate a very respectable business. I know Mr. Moore has taken exception with that language, but it's a shakedown. When you charge a dispensary some $30,000 to operate, and you don't do that to any other business in town, you're a partner, okay? This is what they call a public-private partnership, essentially, in essence. And I live within 1,000 feet of this dispensary. I don't think we've ever heard of a problem at this dispensary. all the fear that was shared with us by the previous police chief, how he didn't want this type of activity in town, was debunked, was unfounded. I'm very proud of this organization and what they've helped to bring to Cotati. And now where you're thinking about a hotel, where there's a place where there's going to be maybe some shady dealings going on there. But anyway, I want to wish Mercy Wellness good luck and with your partners.
Okay. Craig?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. My name is Craig Litwin from 421 Group. Most of the speakers, the earlier speakers, addressed what I also feel. I fully support the urgency ordinance. I commend you for the hard work that you're doing. There are a lot of things to line up here in this transitionary period, and allowing the urgency ordinance to go forward keeps Brandon and Mercy Wellness moving strong, being able to do what they've done for the last 7 years, as previous speakers have said. Prop 64 allowing adult use passed at a greater margin here in Sonoma County than it did at the state level. The voters have spoken, and I appreciate you listening to that. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you for that. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Yes.
My name is Molly Morgan Miller, and I am a cancer patient, and I only recently discovered Mercy Wellness, and I'm so impressed about how they run things and their compassion, and they have a special program for very low income people who really have a need for it. And I would just urge you enormously. I was in for my weekly compassion gift and saw the thing about this coming up tonight, so I came over before I headed back home. But I just would urge you to I think they're very special and really head and shoulders above some of the places that I've been to.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? No? Okay, I will close public comment on that and bring it back to the council. Comments?
I'd be happy to, Madam Mayor. Let's see. Well, the bottom line, I think it's actually in the staff report. This is about preserving the status quo, the existing status quo. I've certainly heard no complaints from my colleagues, from the public, on that status quo the last few years. It seemed to work very well. We've had a lot of public meetings to discuss this. We recently had an election regarding this, and I'm seeing no problems. I'm seeing a lot of support. Additionally, a really important piece here for me is we're helping protect a local business from competition from other localities. I'm looking at these businesses that you're involved in right now, and I can't think of a more difficult path for any business to be asked to try and follow as you try and find your way to something that works through these next few years. So I think we all recognize the difficulty of that and the good job you've done in the past. So certainly I think it's a good thing for the city to try and help all its businesses, and that would be a good chance to do that. And finally, the bottom line, this is something that would be revenue positive for the city. So from my perspective, I'm not seeing any downside whatsoever in this. I don't see a downside at all, and I'd be more than willing to support it myself.
Okay. John?
I certainly would support this as well. Even though we haven't had a chance to do any shakedowns, I would still support this ordinance. And also the fact that I did not really hear any opposition to that, so I would continue to support that.
Okay. Wendy?
No, I'm definitely in support of this, extending this out there, especially given the folks that we do have already in town. It's such an amazing establishment. I mean, I've taken a tour of their facilities. They're fantastic. They're professional. It's just a great setup. So it's something I would support anyway, but I'm glad that it's going to benefit Mercy Wellness as well, because you've been a wonderful addition to our community. So I want to thank you for all of your hard work.
Yeah, I too want to comment that on the tour that Brandon and Craig were both on, that I was on, it's an impressive operation. I mean, every aspect of it was more professional than I could even had imagined in my head. And I hadn't been there in a number of years. I had taken a tour earlier too. So it was just, I've seen improvements even over the years. And so, and you know, even if I would have heard opposition tonight, that wouldn't have changed my mind. I think the business itself runs in a very professional manner. We've had no incidents. You know, you can't say anything, but let's move this forward. So absolutely.
Yeah, I think that your comment about the changes, this whole process and all of the changes that have happened, I've spent the last week with children. You have to keep in mind 4 children, and it really reminded me a lot of the Chutes and Ladders game, where you kind of go ahead and then you stumble down and you have to go back, and this has not been straightforward since it passed. I appreciate staff work and Craig and Brandon and everyone that's been involved with working together to see how we can both make this work in the short term, but also in the long term. So I think that we get the best result when we work together on this. I do agree with Mr. Barich's comments. We haven't had, any incidents. They've been, a model business, and there were a lot of community concerns about that, but none of them have played out, and I think a lot of that has to do with the professionalism that happens and the safeguards that are put in place, and they really run a very professional business. And with the way these regulations have kind of played out and stuff, there are all these, nothing seems to be final yet. So anything that we can do to help with keeping a business that's doing a good job, a very professional job, keep moving while we're still in this kind of quandary together, I think is in the citizens and the patients and everyone else's best interest. So with that,
Madam Mayor, I'd be pleased to move adoption of an interim urgency ordinance prohibiting most new commercial cannabis uses prior to the adoption of the final cannabis land use regulations.
and second. Okay, I have a motion and a couple of seconds. With that, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll let that show a 5-0 vote. And thank you. I have a feeling we're going to lose a few people. I could be wrong. But they must be cheering for you, Chief. So.
We don't get to enjoy the applause that often in here. It's kind of a nice change of pace.
We'll let. I knew that was going to. Who knew that they were going to applaud for you to come up here, Chief? So with that, we will move on to a request to upgrade dispatch radio console and provide improved public safety. Not quite as glamorous, but
very important.
very important.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I have a recommendation for Council to adopt a resolution approving the purchase and appropriation of funding to upgrade the police department radio consoles to improve communications with surrounding public agencies. One of those agencies is the sheriff. I do know how to spell sheriff. It's misspelled.
There was some extra
Yeah, I knew you guys were
letters
going to go
in
there,
there.
so
Yeah.
I'm getting
Yeah.
out in front of that right now. Once upon a time, I was a deputy sheriff, so yeah. So with the background, at this time, the Cotati Police Department has 2 radio dispatch consoles. About 4 years ago, I upgraded one of those to improve the ergonomics, and part of that ergonomics was so the dispatcher didn't have to physically pick up a phone and hold it like this, which obviously is not good for 12-hour shifts. So I did upgrade. I upgraded just the primary position. I would like the 2 consoles to be compatible to be both ergonomically correct. And what happens is with the digital age, the dispatchers are allowed to wear a headset that contains both the phone and the radio, so they're not picking up the phone, and plus they can be mobile and do other tasks that they have to do. And so that's what a lot of this is about. So as you know, on November 14th, you approved the contract with Dispatch Services for Sonoma State University, which is a big game changer, and it's very important that we have a functional dispatch. So I need both radio consoles upgraded and compatible, because with the increased volume of dispatch calls for service and telephone calls and the 6th dispatcher, oftentimes we'll have a dispatcher at both consoles. So they both need to be upgraded and they both need to be consistent. So with the analysis, the proposed dispatch console upgrade will enable the Cotati Police Department to have modern, reliable police dispatch capability, and will enhance our communications with Sonoma State University, which is the most important part of this. CHP, Sheriff with one R, Rohnert Park Public Safety Department, and other agencies in our county. And when I say Rohnert Park, remember the conversation about the UHF and VHF, and remember I just say that Rohnert Park's on Venus, to remember that, because I get confused with that too. We'll be able to talk with them as well as part of this upgrade. And again, a lot of this has to do with ergonomics as well. So the product I'm looking at is Mindshare. I've done my research. It's a good product. I've looked at other vendors as well and come to the conclusion that Mindshare is cost effective and is a good fit for our department. And they actually had a deal for a 2-console. There was a special for a 2-console agency that I found, so I took advantage of that. So when it says that staff conducted interviews, that's me, really, is the staff. And I talked to Clear Lake Police Department, I talked to SMART, and I talked to a sheriff's office in Nevada, and they all loved this product. And I asked them, well, what's wrong with it? And I got no response. They just really liked the product. And then the last time with the upgrade, I wasn't happy with the vendor. They had a slow response time. They're out of Benicia. So a big part of this is Precision Wireless is going to do the installation. And I've talked to agencies that use Precision Wireless, including SMART. And it's pretty important for SMART to operate all these trains, right? And they use Mindshare. They love it, and they also love Precision Wireless. And in the past, which is not in the report, Chief Stewart, the retired chief, he recommended Precision Wireless as well. So they come highly recommended. So it's not cheap. So for financial considerations, it's $47,000 and $754, excuse me, which is about half of what the county offered. And part of in the report, when it talks about the functionality of the $52,000 cost for the county, that didn't include a wireless phone. So we're back to picking up the receiver. So that's just not going to work. So I didn't find the county to be cost effective. So because of these reasons, I recommend the council allow me to move ahead with this purchase using $45,000 in asset seizure funds, and the rest possibly from general fund, $5,000. And this expenditure was not budgeted in the 17-18 fiscal year, but it's urgent to advance this project in a timely fashion, as it takes several months to implement. And as you know, soon we'll be providing dispatch services for Sonoma State University, PD. And so this requires action by council prior to the mid-year budget review. And there are no environmental issues with this purchase. And So that's my recommendation, and I would be happy to answer questions.
Questions?
I don't have any questions. I think it's important to address the ergonomic issues.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, Chief, I have no concerns about Mindshare. I had not heard of them, and usually I have a great deal of comfort with what the county provides, so I did a little research, and evidently they provide service to Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, SEPTA. That's 3.9 million people with 12 radio channels and 36 phone lines. I don't think in our wildest dreams we're going to get that big, so I'm not concerned about that. What I wanted to ask, since this is a VoIP product, Voice over Internet protocol, excuse me, what happens, we all know what happens when the internet slows down or heaven forbid goes offline or something. I'm assuming there's backup redundancy built into this somewhere?
Yes, so it would just go back to the actual radio frequencies for redundancies, yeah.
So that's kind of baked into the product and no concern?
Yes. And then and 911 is a separate product. That's Vesta, and that's protected by UPS in the back room, server room, which has nothing to do with this. And then in the words of Sam Whitehead, the owner of Precision Wireless, he says, I always build in redundancy, Chief. So.
Yeah, good. That's what I needed to hear.
Confident, yeah.
I think particularly for these lines, it's important. Sounds good. Thank you.
I had two questions. When I looked at the proposal, on the miscellaneous charges, there's a charge for $2,000 for the network connection between SSU repeater and Cotati PD building. It says this is an unknown variable. So does that mean that possibly that $2,000 won't be needed or more might be needed, or can you elaborate?
I asked the same question.
Okay. Oh, good.
So it's going to come down to how we make that internet protocol work and who the vendor is on how much it's going to cost. And so we haven't made that decision yet.
Okay.
But it's a good question. I asked the same one of Sam. Does that answer your question?
Yes. And then on the next page at the very bottom, it says there will be a monthly charge for this network connection, probably.
So that comes back to the same thing, yeah.
Okay. So, but on that one, we don't really have we did get one from the county, but we didn't get one on this, or is that a different connection?
So the county's very different, yeah. So the county,
Okay. They
had
have a server farm for this.
Yeah, they know exactly what they're going to do. With this internet protocol, what's going to happen is, what we're talking about is Sonoma State has a repeater on one of their buildings. And we're trying to come up with the best way to use internet protocol to have that tower go directly into the radio consoles that we're going to install. And we haven't figured out exactly the protocol on that yet. And part of that is that Sonoma State University is going to upgrade that repeater. And we're not sure what that looks like yet. So there's a few things hanging out there.
Okay.
And Mayor, I'll also add that the county, the chief is talking about is county with a small c, county IT, basically. That works for the consortium that's facilitating this connection to SSU. In the proposal, the county mentioned here is county with a large C. It's county sheriff's department.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of like a babysitting charge that they include in there, as opposed to what's here for Precision, which doesn't have a similar babysitting charge. It's just there's a network connection of some type, and you may have to pay for like a DSL or an ISDN line or something like that.
Whatever that line is.
Yeah, whatever we figure out.
Okay, all right. Okay, those were my questions. Any other questions? Seeing none, okay, I'll open this up for public comment. Comment on this, George?
Well, lucky for us tonight, the chief asked the same question that the mayor raised. I'm always concerned when he doesn't have the answers. Mr. Lamb made some good questions tonight, but again, I'm going to defer back to our city council members handbook, which says when you have questions like this, it's a good idea to ask the city manager to go to staff and get your answers for you so that our staff is fully prepared for anything that you might ask without throwing the chief a curveball or having to have to come back at a future meeting and have those important questions that you might have answered for you. I don't know why City Council can't get this sunk into your head, that this is standard protocol. When you have questions, and oftentimes you have good questions, they should go to the city manager. That's his job. Then he's supposed to go to staff, get you your answers in a timely fashion, so that if you have follow-up questions, which are often very good too, you'll be able to do it. Nobody wants to be blindsided. Staff doesn't want to be blindsided. You don't want to be confused. I really would wish that you would adhere to that policy that most city councils observe. We don't want you to be confused. We don't want any last-minute surprises. You have plenty of time to ask these questions during the week. I know some of you are busy. I know a lot of you still work. But the fact is, that's the proper way to do it. That way the chief can make a complete report, and he'll have your questions answered in his report, ready to go. If anything else comes up that you didn't see, you were able to ask it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Lori?
I'm questioning the timing of this. It was only a month ago that you approved the Sonoma State University dispatch, and you received something like $140,000 for that's with that agreement. And now this upgrade is coming to help Sonoma State University, and it's coming out of city funds. That doesn't seem where it should be coming out of. It should be coming out of that 140, or whatever it was, thousand. Just why wasn't this brought up a month ago during this SSU dispatch stop, that the systems weren't very compatible and all that? It's not very transparent of you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak on this? See none, I'll close public comment. As I read the report, correct me if I'm wrong, the majority of the money is coming from asset seizure funds, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, and we haven't received any payment from...
We haven't started the
Started
service.
the service yet.
Right. And even when we start the service, those funds will go into the general fund, so anything that we utilize that money for would come back via the budget process and all of that anyways. It's not a separate fund somewhere that we would use, that's services we're providing, the money will go into the general fund, and then we will use those funds according to our budget and the rest of the policies, correct? Did I miss something there? So, let's see. Any other questions, comment? Oh, yes. Yeah.
And just having done asset forfeiture work for a while up in Mendocino County, I just wanted to clarify as well, the asset forfeiture seizure money, that's earmarked for use by the police department only. I mean, it's supposed to go back into law enforcement improvements, is that?
That's, yes, asset seizure is strictly for law enforcement agencies, correct.
Okay, and it sounds like, at least from the projected numbers, it's going to cover about 90% of the cost of this upgrade.
Correct, and it's an excellent nexus, obviously, you got to get the police officers there, right? So that's a very strong nexus for asset seizure spending.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
And I've been in there, and it's kind of hard when they got the headset and then they answer the phone and they're like this with the phone and try, it's nice that everything, it will come through it, and they can talk to one another, and they can pass through calls with this too, right? Versus hanging up the phone and calling, they actually can.
Oh, you mean like for 911 calls to fire departments and things like that? Is that true?
Well, that and isn't there a connection between the police officers, so they can talk to one another rather than just hanging up the phone and redialing? Was there some kind of connectivity with it? Did I?
talking about
sure
the,
what.
are you talking about the radio
Okay.
dispatch?
Hmm?
Are you talking about the radio dispatch, that you can
Yeah.
switch between radio and phone
Yeah.
calls? I think that's
Right.
what she was,
Yeah, but she's not saying.
it's the radio dispatches, I think, what she's talking about. The fact that they can switch between phone calls and the radio to talk to all of the officers that are on that
Yeah,
channel.
oh, you're talking about the headset, yeah, so the
Mhm.
headset, you can talk on the phone and radio back.
Yeah, which makes it not, makes it nicer for the whole process, I think. Okay, no other comments, questions? Then what is your pleasure?
I'd like to move to adopt a resolution approving the purchase and appropriation of funding to upgrade the police department radio consoles to improve communication with surrounding public safety agencies.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Let that show a 5-0 vote. And with that, we will move on to item 12.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And the dispatchers, thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. With that, we will move on to item 12B, which is the city council will elect a mayor and vice mayor from amongst its members to be effective January through December. So with that, we will start with mayor and be happy to entertain a nomination for mayor.
I would go, you go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, I'm just trying to look up and down the table here, but I guess it would be appropriate to nominate Vice Mayor Mark Landman as mayor.
I would second that nomination.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. I will open this up for public comment. Yes, Lori?
I urge you not to nominate and approve Mark Lamon for mayor. He has a very well-known, he does items that are, he brings up subjects that are not items on the agenda, and he does, and it affects the ability for public input. He tends to go off on rants against the citizens, and I do not think he should be mayor. He did it tonight with it shouldn't be, it wasn't against us, but it was not on the agenda item to give a public announcement that about the Alabama Senate race. That is not, that was not on the agenda, and it was a violation of trust. You need to keep politics out of these chambers. And I just, those kind of interruptions are the reason why I do not think he should be mayor. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. George?
I would like to add that on several occasions, Mr. Landman has not made brief responses to citizen comment, and there have been, as Lori said, some ongoing rants that I think were overreached of the code, the state code that holds council members to brief comments. That's one objection I have. The other objection, I agree with Lori tonight, is that if by now you don't understand that you can't make press releases of what's on the news during future agenda items, I'm really surprised the rest of the council didn't call Mr. Landman out of order, because you guys need to police each other on these types of things. I understand the excitement. I understand, a good, healthy victory, but there's a time and place for it. You've got council reports at the end of the night. That was not the time to do it, and it makes me very leery that I don't think Mr. Landman still understands the scope of his duties here, doesn't understand the limits of his power. I have to say, Mayor Harvey, I think you're better fit for this job for a second term. I think you've matured. You understand the law. My vote would go just to give Mayor Harvey another term as mayor. I just have problems. I've heard, Mr. DeLoso talk. I may have thought about even advising that you choose Mr. DeLoso, but tonight Mr. DeLoso said you know, I don't care what the public had to say tonight, you know, I'm gonna vote this way anyway. I mean, that's a violation of the public's trust. I mean, that's a clear violation of your duties as council members. You can't do that. You have to not have your mind made up before public comment is opened and closed. These types of things really concern me. You know, you got, you know, Mr. Moore using profanities over here. I mean, the council's a little out of control. I think Mrs. Harvey, actually, you've kind of helped keep things together and kept a decorum among a lot of the childish, juvenile, and outlandish activities that we've seen on the council. So I'm not really supportive of this. I think some council members have some growing to do.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, Craig.
Craig Inyart, wow, I can just say this is quite a observation of the process here, but I think I could work with each and every one of you, no matter who you choose. But I think it's customary that the vice mayor become mayor. And I know that I can work with Mark. He sat down with me, so I support the motion for Mark to be the next mayor. And I'd be happy for you if you'd like to be as well, or any one of you. So thank you for your time and your service to this community.
Thank you for that. Okay, anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I will close public comment. And any other comments? Anyone having any other comments? Then we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I heard 5, but I just wanted that a 5-0 vote, and that would be.
Would it be appropriate? I'm going to look to our city attorney for a very brief comment after this vote from me.
A very brief comment, but I would recommend maybe that you do it at the conclusion of the vice mayor election, and then it will be a comment on the
Perfect.
entire
That would work
election.
very good. Thank you.
Okay, all righty. So, speaking of that, then we will move on to the vice mayor position. And I will accept nominations for the vice mayor.
I'd like to make a nomination for Mr. DeLossa to be vice mayor.
I would second that nomination.
I have a motion and a second. We will open that up then for public comment. No public comment, then I will bring it back. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I have a comment.
You have a comment? You do have a
Yes,
comment. Okay, you may
I
comment.
thought traditionally, the traditional rotation was a little bit different, was it not, previously? No?
This would, if we were following the traditional rotation that we followed the last few years, since we haven't had any changes in members, Mr. DeLosso followed me last time, so going by that mindset, this would be appropriate.
Wanted to make sure we didn't skip anybody over.
No, I agree. That's something this council has been very good about avoiding. I respect everybody for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Let that show 5-0 vote. So we have a new mayor and a new vice mayor starting in January, and so.
All right, I'm going to try and keep this brief, and I will look to my city attorney. You may throw small pieces as you need to at me, or make these symbols. That's well and good. So tonight I turned 64. This is my birthday, and if I look back to when I was a teenager, not quite a half century, but a longer time than I like ago, I don't think I could ever in my wildest imagination picture I would be sitting here on a night like this. Being on the city council with all of you and in this community for 9 years, a remarkable thing. Passing an ordinance supporting adult use of medical marijuana, and the fact that the state's already voted on it, would have never imagined that. And then being elected mayor by all of you, these are all things I never would have expected. And mostly I'm having a hard time picturing I'm 64 too, but I think I'll have to get used to that. But I do want to, in seriousness, and just to wrap it up, thank the community, my colleagues, for all your support, not just tonight, but over all these years, and of course my promise to do the best I can for you. Thank you very much.
John, would you like to make any comments?
For once I will not have comments.
Wow. Okay. Then, with that, we can move on to item 12C, and that is our assignments. So, here we go.
Yeah, so.
It seems like the easiest is to just kind of
go through them, right? Or does anybody want to change anything? How do you, any thoughts?
Yeah. This is, so just a couple things I'll just point out real
Okay.
quick is the attachment there is the list of all of the positions held, right, and regional
Right.
appointments. There is one ad hoc subcommittee that's currently in place. It's the website ad hoc committee that we mentioned earlier tonight. So that's a potential discussion at the council if you want to continue that subcommittee for now or disband it as part of this process. But I think any way you'd want to do it, either just picking out the assignments that you want to discuss, or going through them one by one would be fine.
Uh-oh, he had his finger out first, so could
I
he?
did this. You
Yeah.
didn't see me, sorry.
I know.
I just.
But then you'll be second.
There's an observation I made, and I'm going to forget this, that's why I want to say it, but positions held by Cotati citizens, so when you're looking at the very bottom of the list, I mean, shouldn't the Measure G Oversight Committee be listed on that list? We have, you know, those three other committees, or is that more in line with planning and design review? I wasn't quite sure if it fell under that category or not.
It's a committee, right?
Yeah, these were more, I mean, I guess the intent was that they're more like regional bodies that these citizens are
That's fine.
appointed to, as opposed to local, but.
And that's fine, I just wanted to bring it out that, you know, that's like one committee of citizens in Cotati, pretty much everything else is listed, but that one's missing. But if it's, you know, if it doesn't need to be on the list, that's fine too. Just wanted to point it out. Thank you.
That was it? Your comment? I mean, that's all you had to say right now?
For now.
Okay, all right. Then, John, did you?
I
The
was
other
just
John.
going to suggest if there are no desires for changes, we could just adopt the existing assignments.
And there's one caveat I forgot to mention earlier. There's the Cotati Runner Park School District 2x2x2. But for whatever reason, we just have one name assigned there, so it's a 2x2x1 currently.
Right, which was interesting because the
What
last time
happened
we
to
met,
it?
it was Susan and I.
Is it Susan? Okay.
So, and I didn't know, John, if you had gotten, if you rotated into one of our slots, I don't know.
Not that I was aware of, or that
Yeah,
I recollect.
I think it's a typo.
I think that is a typo.
Okay, so John DeLoss, Councilmember John, or soon to be Vice Mayor.
Whatever you want to call me, but.
John DeLosso and
Yes.
Mayor Harvey are the two appointees, okay.
Yeah, unless somebody else wants to rotate into that, that's certainly open, but, okay. Those are the only comments I had.
So we have a suggestion that we leave it as it is. Is there anybody wanting to change any of their assignments? Oops,
I'm fine keeping the ones that I'm assigned to at the moment.
okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
And John, are you okay still splitting the health action with me? I
Absolutely,
know we'll have
yeah.
to work out the individual ones that you can attend.
The meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worked out because I went to the last two that were the
Right.
quarterly meetings, and those are working out fine.
Okay,
I
because
mean,
there's four, but I remember last year, the first two quarters you couldn't do, but maybe now that you.
And I could
kind of-
probably take all four of those
Okay,
on,
perfect, yeah,
so-
okay, perfect, okay. Right, so we have that worked out between us. So what I'm hearing is that everyone wants to leave their assignments as is, no changes? I'm okay with that too. So do we need a motion for that to make our assignments the same? Will that-
Yes, but before you move, if you would
Oh.
call for public comment.
I'm so sorry. Public comment? George, did you want to comment on the okay, thank you. Then seeing no public comment, I will close public comment. Thank you, Robin. Got so excited that we got through this so fast. So, then.
Can I take a stab at it?
Sure.
If there's no further discussion, I move to adopt a motion to assign representatives and liaisons to various committees and commissions for calendar year 2018 as is printed, with a couple of minor changes that would include, this is a really bizarre motion and I apologize, under the Cotati Rohnert Park Unified School District, that John C. Moore's name is removed from there, and that Susan Harvey and John DeLosso's names go under there. And I believe that was the only edit. I believe that was the only edit. So, and let me finish that motion, if the city council desires. Let's forget that part. And disband any ad hoc committees which are not currently needed, but I don't think we're disbanding
done
the
yet.
one ad hoc committee, so.
Yeah, right, because it's not done.
So that was probably
Right, I mean, it's
the
going to continue,
muddiest
yeah.
motion that's ever been made.
I'll second
And I could-
that.
And you'll second it, that's great.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That show a 5-0 vote. And then I will find my spot here. We will then move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So I'll just keep it brief. We just have some recreation news to report out on. So Friday, December 1st, as you all know, was the annual holiday tree lighting in the Plaza Park. And the estimate of attendees was somewhere in the 500 to 600 people range. It was very well attended. And everyone enjoyed some holiday music, arts and crafts, coffee, cookies, and hot cocoa, food and craft vendors. And new this year was a trackless train to ride. Santa and the Grinch were also there for the children to meet and greet and receive a goodie bag. So it was, the format was a little bit, as you all know, since you're all there, it was a little bit wider, you know, so more space for people attending the tree lighting to fill in, and it seemed to work out well. This last Saturday, we held our second Breakfast with Santa, and this year we did 2 sessions. Last year we had 1 session, and it was like out the door and around the corner, and it was busier than we could accommodate.
Over the river and through the woods?
Exactly, yeah. So this year we did 2 events, and we had pre-reservations for people to buy tickets, and they both sold out prior to the day. And we had approximately 175 people that came to visit with Santa, have a pancake breakfast, take pictures in the photo booth, and then do crafts, creating ornaments and cards to take home. And both the tree lighting and this were great events, and had a lot of families. It was super fun, both of them. And I will say also that we're currently accepting registrations for upcoming Camp Katati winter break for 2 weeks. The 2 weeks the children have off from school, where the parents are working around the holidays. And other than that, if anyone has any questions about rec classes or wants to register, they can visit the city website or call Ashley Wilson to register. I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Questions, comments? No? Okay. City council member reports. Wendy?
I attended the 2 events that were just brought up in the city manager's report and got to spend a great deal of time with Santa, who appreciated being a rock star not only once but twice in Katati in the last month. The Breakfast with Santa was fantastic. We had a lot of really hardworking staff members, including our city manager, especially trying to switch between, it was the first time we had done 2 sessions, so trying to get things clean and sanitary and then ready for the next round of folks took quite a bit of elbow grease, but it was an impressive effort by everybody and very well received. My father was visiting from Seattle and said that it was really a fun event to attend, just to see all the community members really enjoying their time together. And it's a nice low-key time for the kids to be able to come up, because a lot of times, especially if you're in a long line and then you know there's people behind you, you sort of get this 20-second, okay, smile, kid, tell him what you want, get off his lap. So it was just a nicer time for the kids to be able to come up and kind of warm up to the idea of talking to Santa. And so it was nice. A lot of kids had come in the beginning and were just too shy, couldn't do it, and then by the time 20 minutes later they were raring to go and ready to take their photos with Santa. So it was just a nice, more relaxed atmosphere, and we've got a lot of positive feedback from a lot of people. There's even one father who told me that his kids had woken him up at 5:30 that morning and said, "Come on, we're going to go have breakfast with Santa." He had to explain they had to wait a few hours, so please go back to sleep. So I told him it was good practice for Christmas morning. So anyway, just wanted to let you guys know it's a really positive event, and everybody in the community really seems to enjoy it.
Thank you. Just again to remind, I know the mayor made the announcement, but Saturday, December 23rd, we'll be doing our either 4th or 5th annual food drive with the California Homemakers Association. So it's an incredible event where we put 100 plus boxes of food together for needy people countywide, and this year probably more than ever with those devastating fires. This will be really a critical time. The Ag and Open Space District, it's been a long time since we've met, and mostly because the county staff there has been pulled away to deal with so many recovery efforts post-fire and using their expertise countywide. But one of the subcommittees I'm on is the matching grant program, and that typically, and we had a presentation at one of the most recent mayors and council members, typically that cycle is every 2 years. It was supposed to be coming up in January, but knowing that a number of jurisdictions and organizations are stressed out at this point, so we're pushing it way back. I had recommended making changes to the guidelines. I think there were some areas in the guidelines that were just a little confusing and weren't clear enough to the different jurisdictions that were applying for funding. So we're not sure on the timing of this, but it'll probably be more like early spring, so maybe February, March. And we're going to give the jurisdictions, I think, 10 or 12 weeks to submit applications. I think it's typically like 8 weeks. So we're trying to make that a little bit easier on everybody and not make the burden so difficult. And Bill Keene, the general manager, is very interested in putting more money into, and then putting also, I don't want to call it a screen out factor, but a factor that you would get more points as we're scoring all of these proposals if there was something in the burn area. So if there's something that needs to be replaced, or if it's a restoration of, so many landscapes. There was, I think, Shiloh Regional Park, a county regional park, just opened up this weekend, but there's still a couple of regional parks that are still closed. And it's unfortunate we haven't gotten precipitation, but we're lucky we haven't gotten heavy precipitation because, a lot of even the access roads and trails would have been completely washed out and wiped out. So far, it's kind of a mixed blessing, I guess, is what you could call it. So kind of heads up for that, and I don't know, I haven't had a chance to talk to staff if we have any ideas. I've heard from a couple of citizens about a year ago of a couple of possible ideas, and I think we had to really make good, which we've done, on the property across the street, because we hadn't, just for whatever reason it had been put aside. So, and then, the Voice in last week's issue did put an article together on the food drive that we're doing too, so it was great to get a little extra PR from them, and I'm hoping to have the Press Democrat do the same. That's all I have.
Great.
Thank you.
John?
No, the events that were attended, the tree lighting center, I thought were done very well. I don't know if you got any feedback on the shop and stroll. Most of the comments that I got on that were pretty positive. Again, I'd like to see a little bit more participation by the community, but for the most part, they thought it was very positive. And that's it.
Yeah, I did hear from some of the businesses along Railroad Highway, and the ones I'd heard from all thought it was very positive, extremely busy. Yep. And there was definitely more attendance this year than the first year we did it. Right. The first year was held in Cotati. So, hopefully ramping up.
You can make it look
Yes.
like they're waiting. I think
No,
we're going to do it. So let's see a couple of quick reports, but you reminded me of that. So start with the shop and stroll. Yeah, it did grow since last time, so I think this is worth continuing to support and see where it can go. It's getting a little bit more, and we'll have something healthy, I think, that can do well on its own. So, and just a quick shout out to Ashley Wilson, our Recreation Department Director. Excellent job at the tree lighting ceremony, but the shout out is for I don't know how she did it, but somehow she arranged for the best, warmest weather we've ever had. And I don't know what sort of pull she has, but I like the people you're hiring, Mr. Obid, because that was a lovely evening. So one other quick report. Finishing up the SC Sonoma Clean Power electrical vehicle program close down. Initial numbers about a month ago looked like we might hit 500. The goal is to hit 400. We're actually going to be closer to 600. So that's a lot more than we planned. It's a significant increase from where we started a couple of years ago of EVs in the county. And some of that success comes down to a few obvious things. We got more dealers this time. So that gives people more choice, and they like that. That's good. There's a lot more models now, too, and they have longer ranges that people have wanted. So I think that was a driving force. I'm seeing some nods there. And obviously, it's the second time we did it, so we had a chance to learn some lessons. But I just found it interesting. Some of the colleagues I work with, like Councilmember Skillman or Sarah Gurney from Sebastopol up at SETA the other day. Same thing, she used this, got herself an electrical vehicle. And what she's finding is when she parks places now, I think she got a Chevy Volt, she has everyone come up and asking, how do you like this? How does it work? What's the range? This good. So for the people this works for, it might be a good thing. So we think it's a very good start, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Well, I thought that the tree lighting was a lot of fun. I mean, I walked around a lot, and people were having, loads of fun. I agree. Ashley did an awesome job. I know she had a lot of help, and there were a lot of helpers, but everybody really seemed to be enjoying themselves. And the crowd I like the way it was, felt more open this time, the way the setup was with everyone around the sides, and it allowed the kids. I thought the line with Santa went very, very nicely. I know there were helpers there. And the entertainment was really awesome. I like that we had the Star Production kids up there. That was great. And the other singers. And so that was great. I also went down to the shop and stroll. Unfortunately, the weather for that wasn't quite as nice. I was walking around and it was kind of dreary down there, almost like it wanted to rain. But boy, there were plenty of people down there at the bandstand dancing and listening to the bands and stuff down sort of by the 8 Ball. So people did seem to enjoy themselves. So I didn't have any other meetings. So with that, I guess we can move on to public comment on non-action agenda items. Ladies first. Okay. Thank you, George.
The first is half question. On this, and I did email, the city council meeting is still on the city website as December 26th, so I'm assuming that's canceled. I don't know. I never got a reply. The other is a future agenda item. Yesterday, I took the SMART train down to the Civic Center. I left at 7:30 in the morning. I got there at 7:30 in the morning, and the station is locked. Everybody's out there in the freezing cold for 20, 30 minutes waiting for the train. No bathroom access, anything. You have that $2.5 million or whatever building, and it's locked. At least, maybe you don't want overnight, but you need to maybe have the first SMART train person come and open it up, because everybody freezed their tushies off yesterday. So I hope that can be added to an agenda. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
For future agendized items for next year, I hope you guys have a lot of luck next year, first of all. I would like to suggest that you consider having another Brown Act seminar refresher course that Cotati did probably about 10, 15 years ago. Police officers took advantage of that as well as city staff. It was very good. I think it's probably timely that we have a refresher course on the Brown Act and so forth. I'd like to wish Mr. Landman a happy birthday. There was a time when we had coffee and cupcakes and so forth here. Wish we would have seen that tonight. That would have been very nice. You'll also notice for future agenda item, I hope you consider, there's been a real terrible turnout, a public turnout to these meetings. And I have my own theory why, but putting that aside, I hope next year maybe you can put on a future agenda or a special workshop, maybe a Saturday workshop on what we can do to really bring the public back into the participation process of of our city and bring back that energy and all those good questions that we used to enjoy. We used to provide free coffee in the back of the room out of that old 1960 percolator. It did its job. I think it's probably time to bring that back, and maybe some cookies won't break the budget here. People used to enjoy that. I remember when Paul Foti and Carl Schulman and Cotati residents used to come in and really be a part of the process. And I think we've failed in that regard, especially with the amount of people that you know. We have failed miserably in public participation in these meetings. Also for next year, for future agenda, I'd like you to consider seeing what we can do to charge the public for the EV charging stations out front. Mr. Moore was under the impression that they were pay-as-you-go. I thought they were for a long time. I deeply resent the fact that the taxpayers are fitting the bill for all the kilowatts that have been used over the last few years going out to people there. Often, and we're not talking about children, we're talking about grown adults who have jobs, that we need to charge for that. The city should not be subsidizing people's personal transportation to and from work. It's embarrassing. Many of these EV stations are pay-as-you-go. I'd like you to consider that over the holiday, and I wish you all a happy holiday season.
Thank you for that. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I will close public comment on that. Information received after the agenda, we had copies of a couple of letters. And so with that, I will congratulate our new mayor and vice mayor and wish everyone a wonderful holiday, and I guess we will see everyone next year. There is no December 26th meeting. Did I? Yes, that is correct. There is no December 26th meeting. So with that, everyone have a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you all next year.